Has the coursework at West Point been hijacked by progressive causes? A study indicates that may be the case. We'll tell you what they found and what that means for our military. In addition, a couple weeks ago, you'll remember that the pro-life cause had a difficult defeat in Kansas, but the state of Indiana seems to have responded. They followed up with some good news. We'll tell you about the details out of the Hoosier state. Also, the FBI served a warrant on former President Donald Trump and searched his home last night. Is this proof that no one is above the law or proof of a politicized FBI? We'll talk about that story in detail later in the program, but we'll also talk about it here at the start in our headlines, because Washington in August is traditionally a slow news month as the annual congressional recess sends members back to their districts and away from Washington, D.C. But August 2022 so far has been anything but slow. We saw the reconciliation bill pass through the Senate on a party line vote last weekend, and it will head to the House where it's expected to pass again on party line votes this week. Yesterday, another major story broke with the FBI raid of former President Donald Trump's residence at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Now, this appears to be part of an ongoing investigation of whether the former president improperly stored documents at his home. Joining me now to discuss all of it is Congressman Andy Biggs, who's a member of the House Judiciary Committee and the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. He represents the 5th Congressional District of Arizona. Congressman Biggs, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Joseph. Good to be with you.
It's good to see you today. Now, what was your reaction to the news that the FBI had raided President Trump's home to get documents?
Well, like a lot of people, I was enraged by it. I mean, it's absolutely unprecedented in American history. Additionally, there were so many other ways to try to get those 15 boxes allegedly that contained memorabilia, news clips, et cetera. President Trump wasn't there. Those boxes were packed up by White House staffers on their way out the door. So it's just, I mean, there's so much we could talk about the overreach, the politicization, and the weaponization for political purposes of the police state apparatus and all the other institutions in America today, just like in the bill that we're going to vote on Friday that's going to deal with increasing the number of IRS agents to 87,000.
You mentioned the unprecedented nature of this search. Now, of course, we in America believe that no one is above the law, and that includes current presidents and former presidents, and the rule of law depends on that. But in this case, when we do unprecedented things, many think that the American public deserves an explanation by the FBI for the reason they have done something that hasn't been done before. Do you feel that explanation has been given yet? Is it forthcoming? Will the American people get the explanation that they need to see this as something other than a political move?
Well, I don't think you're going to ever be satisfied, or certainly it's going to take a lot of talking by the FBI to feel satisfied. They haven't come out clean yet with why they did this. But I can tell you this, a Democrat, Mark Elias, who is the bulldog attorney for Democrats all over the country, came out and said the reason that this is so great and it's a blockbuster for American politics is because if they can nail President Trump with any of this, they believe they can keep him off the ballot. And that means that the whole thing is politicized. And that's where we're going. We're going into abuse of power for political purposes. And that is really not the American way. That at least previous to Joe Biden, it wasn't considered to be the American way.
Now, Representative Biggs, you mentioned there that there were a number of documents, boxes that they wanted to claim, things that the National Archive believes it belongs in the National Archive that should have been removed from the White House. Do we have reason to believe that there were less extreme efforts made, communications perhaps, made with the former president to say, hey, those things actually belong in the National Archives. Could you turn those over?
Well, we know that President Trump turned over 15 boxes earlier this year. We don't know what additional processes have gone into place, but the question is, were any of these documents or alleged documents even a threat to national security? I mean, I was in the chamber of the House when I watched Nancy Pelosi rip up President Trump's State of the Union address. That is an archived document. It should not have been torn up, but you didn't see anything go with that. And that's part of this too, is this ridiculous two-tiered system where, Hunter Biden or Hillary Clinton, they don't have any kind of investigation seriously going on, but they'll go after President Trump over boxes of memorabilia.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that makes the public skeptical about this is the ongoing January 6th Commission hearings that have been happening in the House of Representatives, which many people perceive as something of a political witch hunt. The timing of this seems coincidental if it's not connected to a larger effort. But we do want to remain open to the facts, but connecting it to what's being debated in Washington, D.C. this week with the reconciliation bill. And part of that is $80 billion for 87,000 new IRS agents, we are told, that would be hired by this in light of this suspicious, perhaps, activity by the FBI. Should the American public be concerned about what these 87,000 new IRS agents would be dispatched to do?
Yeah, I am very concerned. I mean, I remember when Lois Lerner used IRS agents and audits to go after 501c3s that were conservative in nature. So you're going to see something potentially like that. And don't ever forget that we've seen a lot of weaponizations, whether it be alcohol, tobacco, and firearm, and also this FBI thing here, the spying on President Trump. But what really drives me crazy here is they are spending $80 billion, claiming they're going to net $120 billion. So you should be very nervous because they're going to go after you and me and conservatives, and I believe try to misuse this for political purposes to try to increase revenue just so they can say that they balanced the spending with revenue in this bill.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us look at that and say, if they're going to spend $80 billion to get $120 billion, can you trust those numbers? And in so many cases, the process is the punishment, and what they're going to do with that $80 billion to extract the rest of that money from us. It feels painful, and it hasn't even happened yet. But Congressman Biggs, there's a lot of other things going on with this reconciliation bill. Of course, they're referring to it as the Inflation Reduction Act. Senator Mitch McConnell had some comments about that. I want to play clip one and then give you a chance to respond.
Survey after survey, poll after poll has proven that none of this nonsense is what American people want Democrats to focus on. The American people don't want hundreds of billions of dollars in Green New Deal waste. They want less inflation, not more. American families don't want tens of thousands more IRS agents. What they'd like are more border patrol and ICE agents.
Representative Biggs, do you think Senator McConnell has it right there about the American public's priorities compared to what this bill actually does?
Yeah, he summed it up very nicely because Americans want cheaper and gas prices. They want lower inflation so they can afford to eat and live their lives the way they choose to. And they also want the security of the border. And what I'll tell you is that this bill has $500 million for the border, but it isn't for Border Patrol agents, not for ICE agents, not to stop illegal immigration. It's actually for environmental justice programs.
Yeah. And to that point about the border, the Biden administration has now announced that the Mexico policy is officially dead. The Remain in Mexico policy, excuse me. Senator James Lankford had some things to say about that. Let's play clip two.
It is nonsensical to say that we have a COVID health emergency everywhere but on our southern border. If there's a public health emergency in this country, then Title 42 authority must remain in place.
Representative Biggs, what's your reaction to eliminating the Remain in Mexico policy?
Well, there's two policies at stake here. The Remain in Mexico policy, which the administration has attempted to eliminate since January 20th of 2021. And so they're finally putting the last spike in it. And they basically have been half-heartedly using it because they were under court order, and now they've eliminated it altogether. And the other one is Title 42, which we've used to keep out hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens due to health issues, and they're going to come in. So basically, these are more incentives to come in, and they're going to be caught. They're going to surrender typically, and then they're going to be released into our country. And to me, this is not an accident. It's not a coincidence. This is purposeful and intentional on the part of the Biden administration.
And Senator McConnell really made a point that I'd like to get you to specifically respond to is we have 87,000 new IRS agents. Is there any kind of corresponding increase to the border security personnel? They've been taxed. We know that that's a very difficult job. Is the White House also shoring up our resources and our people on the border?
No, 2 points on that. Number one, they said they're going to close some fencing down in the Mar-a-Lago Dam area of Yuma. Well, that's just a few hundred feet. And most people don't go through the Mar-a-Lago Dam anyway in Yuma. They come around at the Cocopah Reservation. So that's not going to even slow down or even inconvenience the cartels who smuggle them in. And the second thing is they're putting all their money towards environmental programs instead of for Border Patrol agents to have more equipment, better radios, better vehicles, more space for detainees. This administration is telling Border Patrol, you need to move people out as quickly as possible and get them into the country as possible. So this catch and release program is all on the part of the Biden administration.
Representative Biggs, one more question in about 30 seconds on the whole politicization of these agencies. Is there a congressional role of oversight to make sure this doesn't happen?
Yes, it is our total role, and we should be holding oversight hearings, and I hope we do when Republicans get power again. We've had 3 hearings on the Washington Commodores, for Pete's sakes, but we can't have an oversight hearing on what the FBI is doing to American citizens. That needs to change ASAP when Republicans get control of the House.
I know there's a lot of people who agree with you, and we will be watching and cheering for you from around the country. Representative Biggs, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. Good to be with you.